Welcome back, Night Wanderer. Tonight, you're slipping quietly into a chapter of history they definitely forgot to teach in school. By the way, if you were actually there, you'd probably have been arrested, eaten badly preserved fish, or caught something unpleasant. But don't worry, tonight you're only here in spirit. Before we set off, do that slow scroll to like and subscribe, but only if these sleepy little time loops are your thing. And tell me where in the world you're watching from and what time your clock says. It's strangely comforting knowing who else is still up. Now lights low, maybe grab a blanket or let your ceiling fan hum away in the background. Time to drift gently back, one step at a time. You wake up somewhere ancient. The sky is just shy of silver, and the moon isn't a shape anymore, it's an emotion. Soft, cool, and slightly judgmental. A breeze nudges you forward, past the edge of a sloping hill where mist spills down like silk being poured from a balcony. There's a valley below, asleep in that bluish hour just before dawn, where shadows don't cast darkness, they hold their breath. You're barefoot, of course, because reality forgot to pack shoes. The ground is mossy, soft, and slightly too perfect, like it's been curated by a team of very detail-oriented squirrels. You take a step, then another. The night isn't silent, it's considerate. A faint rustle here, a distant hoot there, and something that might be a flute, or might be a frog with excellent lung capacity. All around you, the leaves shimmer with a soft glint, not wet exactly, but coated in something between dew and moonlight. And then from behind a tree that looks suspiciously wise, comes the unmistakable sound of a yawn. Not yours, something fuzzy, bony-elbowed, and unimpressed. It's a monkey. He's not large, but he carries himself like someone who's convinced he owns several rental properties in a better part of the forest. Cold night, he grumbles, rubbing his tiny arms. Would have been nice to have fire, but no. Dragons, huh? Always so protective. You blink. He nods solemnly, as if you were mid-conversation. The monkey gestures dramatically toward the far-off mountains, one of which is glowing faintly red near its tip, like the world forgot to stub out its last cigarette. That's where they keep it, he mutters. The fire, all locked up, guarded, hoarded, typical dragon behavior, probably sleeping on it. You look toward the mountain. It pulses gently, slow, warm, alive. It's far, of course. These things always are. But the monkey is already halfway into a knotted rope of vines he's calling a shortcut. You don't know his name. He hasn't offered it. But something about the way he peels a fruit mid-stride and tosses the skin directly into a tree knot implies he's done this before. As you descend into the valley together, you can't help but ask, "Why do you want fire?" He stops, looking genuinely surprised by the question. "I'm cold." A beat. Also, it's symbolic. You wouldn't understand. Fair enough. The valley floor is littered with smooth stones and occasional tufts of silver grass. There's a scent in the air. Peach blossoms, maybe, or incense, or roasted peanuts. Hard to tell, honestly, but not unpleasant. The stars above you remain politely dim, as though they know this story is about subtlety. You ask the monkey, somewhat cautiously, if dragons are really so stingy with fire. "Oh, not all of them," he says, waving a paw. "Some are reasonable, some are sleepy, some will give you fire if you beat them at a riddle contest. But me, I like to borrow." He grins, "But they never let me." The monkey sighs, dramatically of course, and perches on a bent tree limb to survey the distant volcano. His tail flicks like a metronome. Historians still wonder, he muses, if dragons actually invented fire or just found it first and got good at branding. You raise an eyebrow. He doesn't elaborate. The two of you sit quietly for a while, watching the horizon flicker with quiet red light. It's a good kind of silence, the kind that warms your bones and slows your thoughts. Eventually, the monkey hops down, brushing off imaginary dust. "Come on," he says. "We've got a mountain to climb, and I want to be back before the morning dew turns my fur into a puffball." You smile. You're not entirely sure if this is a dream or a legend or some sort of particularly soothing fever, but you're already moving. The monkey tosses you a slightly squashed fruit as you go. It tastes like something that would win a ribbon at a very prestigious celestial fair. Above you, the moon begins to fade, the mist begins to rise, and the first stone of the dragon's path waits somewhere ahead. The trail begins as a polite suggestion, a winding footpath made of mossy stone and half-remembered intentions. Each step you take feels soft, springy, and faintly amused. Trees on either side bend slightly inward as though eavesdropping, their twisted trunks etched with whorls that might be bark or calligraphy, or both. It's hard to tell in this kind of light. The monkey leads, of course. He doesn't so much walk as scamper with purpose, clutching a stick he insists is for ceremonial navigation. It is absolutely just a stick. Around you, the forest thickens. The air grows damper, warmer, like the forest is holding its breath. The colors shift subtly. Leaves gleam with a faint golden edge, and the soil turns the color of warm tea. A bird calls out from somewhere above with a sound like a question mark. As the path curls tighter around a bend, you spot something up ahead. A tiny shrine, barely knee-high, nestled into a grove of bamboo. On top sits a single offering, a dried peach, slightly wrinkled but still fragrant. The monkey pauses, bows solemnly to it, and continues on without a word. You gesture to the fruit. He shrugs. Old bribe, he says. Didn't work. The peach was too ripe. Dragons prefer them firm and dramatic. You make a mental note. Deeper into the woods, the temperature begins to shift. It's not hotter, but it feels closer, like the air is gathering around you, excited. The ground rises gradually, and ahead a clearing opens up, wide, still, and utterly quiet. At its center is a pool, perfectly round, perfectly still. The water is impossibly clear, reflecting the trees above with unsettling accuracy, as though the forest has decided to mirror itself just to mess with your sense of direction. The monkey sits beside the pool, dipping a paw in lazily. This is where the fire once cooled, he says. Long ago, they say the dragon spilled some by accident, thought it was soup. You blink. It wasn't soup. He leans back, gazing into the mirrored canopy. But for a brief moment, this pool boiled with dragon heat, scared the frogs half to death. You peer into the water. It's calm now, almost hypnotic, but you can still see something dancing faintly beneath the surface. A flicker of orange? Or just your reflection pretending to be interesting? Historians still wonder, the monkey adds, whether the pool kept the memory of the fire or the flavor. You sit down beside him. The moss is cool. The silence wraps around you like a polite blanket. Somewhere far off, a cricket begins its nightly sermon. After a moment, the monkey turns to you. So, you're really doing this? You look at him. Climbing the mountain, stealing or borrowing fire from a dragon. Not many tourists go for that package. You shrug. He nods approvingly. Brave or sleepy? Honestly, the two are hard to tell apart. He hops up, shakes out his limbs, and points to a narrow trail leading out of the clearing. It snakes upward between two massive rocks shaped like sleeping boars. That's the way, he says. But fair warning, the path tests you. You ask, tests me how? Oh, it throws old dreams at you. Forgotten stuff, childhood embarrassments. That time you waved at someone who wasn't waving at you. You pause. Also, he adds, a goose. You squint. Just trust me. The climb begins again. The trail is steeper now and narrower. Trees thin out, replaced by tall grasses that whisper as you pass. The wind picks up, cool and insistent. Somewhere behind you, the pool disappears from view. Then, because this is the kind of story where things like this happen, you hear a honk. Not a car, not a horn, a goose. You turn. Standing in the middle of the trail is a perfectly average goose, glowing faintly around the edges like it just wandered out of a sacred mural. Its eyes are wise, its beak is judgmental. The monkey freezes. You're on your own with this one, he mutters. You take a cautious step. The goose does not move. It merely stares. It's a standoff. You try politeness. The goose tilts its head. You try indifference. The goose honks once, low and slow, like a monk reciting an insult. Eventually you bow, because that feels right. And the goose steps aside. The monkey claps softly. Well played, he whispers. Some never pass that part, still stuck back there, haunted by poultry. You exhale, more amused than afraid. The trail widens again. Trees return. The air smells of pine and something spicy. Clove, maybe? Or roasted chestnuts being dreamed of somewhere nearby. As the stars begin to fade into a sky that isn't quite morning, you press forward. The mountain waits, not far now, its glowing crest still faintly pulsing like a heartbeat. You and the monkey move in tandem. The goose, long gone, leaves behind only a faint feather and an even fainter sense of having been judged. One footstep, then another, and onward you go. The forest thins as elevation claims its due, and soon you're tracing a stone ridge that curls like a sleepy serpent around the mountain's midsection. The air is lighter here, crisper, cooler, touched with that almost snow scent that mountain air wears like a cloak. Below, the trees sway in slow motion, their canopies stitched together like an ancient quilt nobody dares fold. Beside you, the monkey is humming a tune with no melody, just mischief. Occasionally he mutters something under his breath, right path, or watch that root, or hope the weather isn't feeling emotional. Then, without fanfare, the path leads you to a peculiar sight. A gate, not the kind you walk through. This one's made entirely of woven branches, dried gourd rattles, and strings of paper charms shaped like teapots. It hangs suspended between two boulders, barely taller than your shoulders. The monkey stops short, then bows. It's the gate of small tests, he says. Everyone hates this one, mostly because it's incredibly literal. You ask what the test is. Fit through, he says. You blink. That's it. You look at the gap. It's snug. And while you're not particularly large, the gate seems to size you up with a level of judgment you thought only geese were capable of. You turn sideways, you shuffle, you hold your breath. And just when you're almost through, a paper charm flutters down and sticks to your nose. The monkey howls with laughter. Traditional greeting, he gasps, means welcome or adjust your expectations. The gate, satisfied by your humiliation, lets you pass. Beyond it, the landscape shifts again. Gone are the familiar trees. Now you walk among stones shaped like animals, not just in the way clouds sometimes look like rabbits. These are full-on sculptures carved by wind, rain, or a bored celestial artisan. You pass a turtle wearing a crown, a sleeping lion curled around itself like a cinnamon roll, and, most unsettlingly, a rock that looks exactly like your childhood math teacher. You decide not to comment. The monkey notices anyway. Ah, yes, the hall of formed thoughts, he muses. This is where the mountain listens. You ask, listens for what? He shrugs. Regret, curiosity, good jokes, echoes of things people meant to say but didn't. You stay quiet for a while. The wind rustles the lion's mane. Somewhere far above, thunder mumbles in its sleep. As you walk, the stones become more abstract. Less lion, more intention. One seems to be dancing. Another sits in contemplation. A third appears to be waiting for a train that hasn't run in centuries. Finally, the monkey stops and points ahead. At the edge of the rocky garden stands a single pavilion. It's simple. Wooden posts, silk banners, and a roof shaped like a scholar's hat. Smoke curls from a tiny brazier inside. Seated cross-legged at the center is a woman in a robe the color of cloud shadow. Her eyes are closed. Her hair floats slightly like it's suspended in slow water. The monkey bows. Firekeeper, he whispers. You approach carefully. The woman opens one eye, then the other. She studies you for a long time. You're early, she says, though her voice suggests you're actually late. She gestures to the cushion across from her. You sit. She reaches into her sleeve and pulls out a folded fan. Not to fan herself. She opens it, studies the calligraphy, and sighs dramatically. Borrowing fire, she says. Very unoriginal. You're lucky I'm bored. You ask if she'll help. She tilts her head. Why should I? The monkey chimes in. Because he faced the goose. Her eyebrow arches. The goose let you pass? You nod. That's something. She sets the fan down and pours tea into two impossibly small cups. The scent is strange, like roasted plum and burnt cinnamon. Drink, she says. It will clarify nothing, but it's polite. You sip. It tastes like memory, the kind that tugs at the edge of sleep. The firekeeper smiles faintly. Tell me a secret, she says. Something even you forgot. You hesitate, but then something bubbles up. An image, a dream, a moment from long ago. You speak it aloud, quietly. The firekeeper nods. I'll grant you a spark, she says, but it must be earned. She claps once. From the mist behind her pavilion, a staircase unfolds. Not just any staircase. This one moves. Gently. Subtly. It shifts with every blink, tilting left, twisting upward, dissolving steps and remaking them mid-air. The monkey groans. Oh, the emotional ladder, he mutters. Prepare to question all your decisions. The firekeeper hands you a small lantern, empty. Reach the top, she says. Catch the flame. Return with it still alive. You glance up the twisting stairs. They shimmer in the dimming light. The monkey pats your back. I'll wait here, he says. Someone has to eat the rest of her tea snacks. And so, with lantern in hand, you step onto the first stair. It sighs beneath your weight, then lifts you gently upward. And the climb begins again. The stair moves more like a lazy ribbon than anything you'd associate with reliable transportation. Each step flows into the next like a sleepy yawn stretched across time. The first few minutes feel like a dream you forgot you were having, light-footed, strange, and filled with a mild sense of being watched by clouds. To your left, a step shaped like an apology. On your right, one that smells like wood smoke and worry. The emotional ladder, as the monkey called it, is less a staircase and more a personality test, written by a poetic architect with a flair for theatrical suffering. Halfway up the second bend, the steps begin to speak. Not in words, exactly. They hum, somewhere between a lullaby and a lecture. You can't catch the melody, but you recognize the sensation. The way the air feels before someone you love says something complicated. A step below you lights up briefly. A memory rises with it. Something about laughing so hard at dinner you nearly choked on a dumpling. The warmth lingers. A few steps later, a colder light. The time you lied and were believed. You keep walking. The lantern in your hand glows faintly now. Not fire. Not yet, but something like potential. Then comes the mist. Of course there's mist. It curls around the stairs like it's looking for a reason to stay. It dampens your hair, clings to your sleeves, makes the edges of things less committed to their shape. Just when you're about to mutter a protest into the fog, a figure appears above you, someone seated, waiting. She's dressed in a robe the color of dried lotus petals. On her lap, a small harp, strung with silver thread. She doesn't strum it so much as allow it to play itself. Each pluck sounds like a memory being rinsed clean. "You made it far," she says without looking up. You ask who she is. She replies, "A test. A mirror. A question. Pick one." You pick mirror, mostly because it sounds the least threatening. She nods, then gestures beside her where a tiny wooden bench appears. You sit. She continues playing. After a moment she speaks again. "What have you learned?" You pause, then shrug. "That's fair," she says. "This stare eats certainty. Best not carry too much." The lantern brightens slightly. She looks at it. "It likes you," she says. "Be careful, it remembers more than you do." You stand to leave. She raises one finger. "A riddle," she says. "Answer it and the flame above will wait for you." You brace yourself. She asks, "What burns but never hurts, glows but never blinds, fades when grasped too tightly?" You blink, then answer, slowly, "Kindness." She smiles, not a reward smile but a knowing one. "I was hoping you'd say that." She fades into mist before your eyes. The staircase tilts forward, guiding you on. The mist clears briefly as the path levels out, revealing a narrow bridge made entirely of tree roots, braided together, moss-covered, and glowing faintly with fireflies. It stretches over a canyon so deep it looks like the earth's forgotten secret. You hesitate, but the lantern warms in your hand. That seems like permission enough. Halfway across the bridge you pause to look down. You regret it instantly, not because it's scary, because it's beautiful. The canyon holds stillness, the way a cup holds tea. Moonlight filters through cracks in the rock, illuminating carvings too old to translate. You catch a glimpse of one that might be a monkey holding a lantern, laughing, or sneezing. The detail is up for interpretation. Across the bridge, the steps resume. They're wider now, flatter, gentler. The air changes too, thinner, yes, but also more deliberate. Like the mountain has stopped tolerating your presence and started paying attention. The final platform approaches. It's smaller than you expected, a circle of stones no more than 10 paces wide, surrounded by wind-sculpted pines. In the center stands a single brazier, unlit. You approach it cautiously. The brazier is etched with swirling cloud patterns and peach blossoms. No fuel inside, just a stillness, patient and quiet. You kneel beside it. Nothing happens, until the lantern in your hand pulses once, then flickers, then steadies. A single ember drops into the brazier. It doesn't roar, it doesn't sizzle. It breathes. Warmth rises, color returns to the air, and the flame is born. The fire glows gold and soft orange, casting gentle halos across the pine needles. It doesn't consume, it converses. Around it, shapes flicker. A peach orchard, a laughing monkey, a dragon's tail curling around a scroll. Then gone. You realize, this is not just fire, it's a story, one you're now part of. You cradle the lantern close, coaxing the flame into it. It swirls politely like tea accepting a new cup. The brazier dims, the wind resumes, you turn to descend, but the staircase is gone. In its place, a slide, slick, moss-covered, and definitely not OSHA-approved. You sigh, of course, and down you go. You land in a heap of leaves and ego, neither bruised beyond repair. The moss slide has delivered you, rather ungracefully, into what can only be described as a courtyard designed by someone with a fondness for mystery and a loose understanding of geometry. Nothing here is straight or square. Paths curve with no clear destination. Steps rise only to vanish into hedges, and the lanterns bob in the air like they're judging your posture. The air smells like cinnamon bark and wet stone. Somewhere nearby, water trickles, not in a fountain, but in a carved bamboo trough that tilts and tips in rhythm, sending a single droplet into a pool with each swing. It's soothing, too soothing. The kind of sound that makes you forget your to-do list or the name of the emperor you're theoretically here to impress. A soft rustle behind you. The monkey. He's back, crouched on a curved roof beam with a half-eaten peach in one hand and an unreadable smirk in the other. You survived the slide, he says. That's usually where people lose their shoes. Or dignity. You glance down. Your shoes are muddy. Your dignity is negotiable. The monkey leaps down, landing with all the noise of a feather sighing. Come on, he says. The emperor's library isn't far. You follow him down a path that seems determined not to be followed. Pebbles crunch beneath your feet in patterns that almost sound like syllables. The trees here are older than judgment. Their trunks twist with slow confidence, and their leaves whisper to each other in a language too slow for your ears. Occasionally you think you catch a word. Borrowed. Return. Fire. Again. Finally, you arrive. The emperor's library isn't a building. It's a hollowed-out tree, enormous, ancient, wide enough to host a banquet, and tall enough to lose a kite forever. Its bark is carved with symbols glowing faintly in the dark, and its roots stretch like lazy serpents across the courtyard, half submerged in pools of still water. A wooden bridge leads to the entrance, and as you step onto it, the surface hums quietly, like it remembers every footfall it has ever held. Inside, the scent is a rich blend of cedar, parchment, and candle wax. Shelves spiral up and around the tree's interior, filled with scrolls, bound books, loose pages tied with silk ribbons, and a surprising number of small teacups balanced precariously on ledges. A librarian appears, not a person exactly, but a floating scroll that unfurls in front of you, revealing a question. What do you seek? It asks, ink forming and fading in real time. You hesitate, then whisper, the truth about the fire. The scroll curls inward, as if satisfied, and drifts away. Another appears. This one reads, what price will you pay to hold it? You frown, then answer, a memory. The scroll pauses, then burns itself silently into nothing. You're guided to a low platform ringed with cushions. The monkey gestures for you to sit. He climbs up beside you, licking peach juice off his fingers. A gentle light glows from above, and a new scroll descends slowly from the upper shelves, coasting down like a feather caught in a dream. The monkey catches it. Ready? He asks. You nod. He reads. It's a story, of course, but not the kind found in textbooks. This one is alive, written in breaths and glances in the spaces between lightning and lanterns. Once it says there was a mountain too cold for fire and a dragon too lonely for silence. The dragon built a fire and guarded it, not for power, but for company. One day, a monkey appeared. He didn't ask for the fire, he just listened. The dragon, surprised, offered him a spark, not as a gift, but as a loan. The monkey promised to return it after warming his people. He never did. The dragon waited, still waits. The scroll ends there. You look at the monkey beside you. He avoids your eyes. What happened? You ask softly. He shrugs. Depends who you ask. You consider the flame in your lantern. Its warmth feels different now. He hops down. Come on, he says. Time to meet someone older than all of this. You follow him out of the library. The courtyard has changed. Now it's night, stars scattered like spilled rice across the sky. A breeze tugs gently at your sleeves. Somewhere ahead, a path lined with lanterns opens into the trees. The monkey walks beside you this time, quietly, almost reverently. Did you really borrow the fire? You ask. I prefer the word borrow, yes. And the dragon? Oh, he's around. You glance sideways, and he's okay with this, stops walking, looks up at the stars. Not exactly, he says, but you'll see. And with that ominous piece of bedtime reassurance, he leads you down the lantern path, each light flickering gently, like it knows a secret it isn't sure it should tell. The lantern path winds through a grove of trees that seem to lean in closer the farther you go. Their branches arch overhead, forming a canopy that turns the night into something softer, almost padded. every step muffled, every breath more still. The monkey doesn't speak for a while. Neither do you. Eventually the trees part, and there, nestled between a hill and a stream, is a small shrine. The shrine is built entirely from bone-white stone and soft green moss, lit by moonlight that filters through the leaves like spilled milk. A single incense stick burns beside the entrance, its smoke curling upward in perfect spirals, like it's rehearsed. The monkey sits on the steps. "This is where he listens," he says. "Who?" He points at the symbol carved above the shrine entrance. It's not a name, but a shape, like fire drawn from memory, too precise to be natural, too chaotic to be entirely safe. "The dragon." You hesitate. "He's here?" The monkey tilts his head. "He's always listening, especially when you think he's not." You glance at the incense half-burned now and sit beside the monkey. The stone beneath you is warm, which is confusing because the night has grown colder. A stream trickles behind the shrine, slow and clear, carrying reflections of stars downstream like drifting thoughts. "So," you whisper, "was it real? The fire story?" The monkey snorts. "What isn't?" That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Inside the shrine, a single candle flickers, and for a moment you swear the flame moves like it's alive. Not burning, but watching. You blink. It's just a candle. Maybe. The monkey fishes something from his satchel, a small worn box, and hands it to you. Inside, a comb. Wooden, smooth, scented faintly of pine and sandalwood. It's carved with dragons along the spine. "It's a peace offering," he says. "Technically." "For what?" "You'll know soon enough." Before you can ask, he stands and walks into the trees. You're alone. Except, it doesn't feel like you're alone. The candle in the shrine flickers again. "Just stay calm," you mutter. The stone beneath you vibrates, just a little. Then again. Then the trees groan, not creak, groan. You rise slowly. The path behind you is gone. Only mist. The air smells faintly of sulfur and jasmine, and then, out of the stream, coiling like smoke and shadow, rises a figure. Not quite physical, not entirely light. The dragon does not roar. It does not flare. It arrives like a sigh that takes shape. Its body loops through the mist like calligraphy, graceful, massive, unhurried. Its eyes are lanterns. Its breath curls in ribbons. You stand very still. The comb in your hand feels heavier now. The dragon doesn't speak, but you hear it anyway. "Why do you carry what was not returned?" You don't answer, not out loud. Because suddenly you remember the scroll's last words. The dragon waited, still waits. The silence stretches, long and slow, like a silk thread being pulled from a spool. Finally, the dragon dips its head, not in anger, in memory, and then vanishes, like steam. The candle in the shrine gutters out. The monkey returns, casually munching on something. "Ah," he says. "You met him." You nod. He notices the comb still in your hand. "Did he take it?" "No." "Then you'll need to carry it." You glance down at the comb. "I don't want to steal fire." He laughs. "It's too late for that." You both begin walking again, back into the forest that somehow feels different now. Calmer, wiser, slightly more judgmental. As you walk, he adds, "Most people think dragons are all fire and fury, and they're not. They're memory," he says. "Fire is just how they make sure we don't forget." A chill runs along your spine. The lanterns begin again, flickering softly, guiding your way. The monkey hums an old tune, off-key and probably older than language. You walk in silence. The path seems to stretch longer now, time unspooling like silk behind you. And somewhere ahead, beyond the trees and the mist and the weight of borrowed fire, someone is waiting. The forest begins to thin, slowly giving way to lower hills and patches of worn stone. Your feet shift from damp earth to cracked slabs that bear the faint traces of old carvings, paths someone else laid centuries ago and then forgot about. The monkey twirls a stick between his fingers. He hasn't said much since the shrine. You suspect he's thinking, or pretending to think. With him, it's hard to tell. Ahead, perched on a rise like a watchful bird, is a small pavilion. The roof curves like a dragon's spine, and faded red silk flutters lazily at its corners. In the pale morning light, the pavilion looks both regal and sleepy, its wooden beams cracked with age, but its presence unmistakable, like an old noble still wearing their best robe even after retirement. The monkey hops up the steps 2 at a time. Inside the pavilion is a tea table. Just one. No chairs. A single ceramic cup waits beside a gently steaming kettle. You eye it warily. "It's for you." the monkey says, sitting cross-legged nearby and pulling out a peach. He eats it noisily. You kneel at the table. The cup is plain. The tea is not. It smells of oolong, chrysanthemum, and something you can't quite name, something like memory if memory had a scent. The first sip is warm and earthy with a hint of sweet smoke. You just drank 400 years of bureaucracy, the monkey says. You pause. What? That's what it took to get dragons legally classified as uninsurable. Bureaucrats don't like mysterious fires. You blink. Was that a joke? Only slightly. As the warmth settles in your belly, a memory stirs. Not yours, but close. A scene plays across your thoughts, uninvited. A village long ago, nestled in the crook of a river. A young woman kneels beside a stone oven, feeding it twigs. She's laughing. A monkey, your monkey, or one very much like him, is perched on the roof, holding something aloft, a tiny, flickering flame caught in a shell. The villagers cheer. Then the sky darkens. The woman's face falls. The monkey drops the flame into her hands and vanishes. The vision fades. You blink at the tea. The monkey is watching you. She was the first. The first what? The first to ask for fire. Nicely. You place the cup down slowly. Did it help her? No, he says, stretching. But it helped everyone after. Silence. The pavilion creaks gently. Wind picks at the silk ribbons. You ask, why a pavilion in the middle of nowhere? Because dragons don't like crowds, he replies. They prefer courtyards and good tea and polite distance. He offers you a second peach. You take it. The bite is juicy, floral, and somehow nostalgic. Is this how it ends, you ask? The journey? The monkey shrugs. Journeys don't end, they just change outfits. You raise a brow. That one was philosophical, he adds. Write it down if you like. The hills beyond shimmer in the sun. Mist clings low to the ground, catching the light like a lazy halo. Below, a trail leads further down, to the next part, whatever that is. The monkey stands. We should keep moving. This is the part where people usually start to doubt everything. Like what? Like whether they're still dreaming, or whether the fire was real, or whether they should have just stayed in bed. He grins. Too late now. As you follow him down the winding trail, the pavilion fades into the background. Less like a structure, more like a memory pressed gently against the landscape. You glance back only once. The cup is gone. The tea kettle remains, still steaming. The trail turns serpentine, curling through thickets of bamboo that rustle with each passing breeze. The light here is gentle, filtered through pale green leaves that sway like underwater plants in a calm sea. Bamboo stalks stretch in every direction, tall, whisper-thin, and impossibly dense, with little beams of sunlight catching on dew like spun gold threads stitched through the morning. You walk slowly. Even the monkey is quiet, for once. There's something sacred about this part of the journey. Not in a grand temple kind of way, but more like the hush that falls over a room when someone unexpectedly kind tells a sad story. The air smells faintly of earth and rain and something sweet, like cooked rice wrapped in lotus leaves. Almost there, the monkey murmurs, still a few paces ahead. He doesn't usually come this far from the mountain, but I bribed him with mangoes. You squint. Who are we meeting now? He pauses theatrically. A dragon, obviously. Of course, you had assumed fire from a dragon was metaphorical, a clever twist of a story, a symbol, maybe. But here in a bamboo forest that hums like a lullaby, your guide casually mentions meeting a mythical creature as though it's no big deal. He starts walking again, this time humming under his breath, something with no tune but great confidence. Eventually, the bamboo gives way to a clearing. In the center of the glade lies a pond, glassy and still, reflecting the sky so perfectly that for a moment you feel upside down. A large stone sits at the edge, carved faintly with coiled symbols. Atop it rests a coiled figure, scales shimmering like old coins in the shade. He's smaller than expected. The dragon, about the size of a large dog. Maybe a medium tiger. It's hard to scale myth when it's sunbathing. The dragon opens one sleepy eye. Oh, it says, voice like warm gravel. It's you. The monkey bows, deeply. Glorious flame curator of the 5th branch of Heaven's registry, I bring a guest. The dragon yawns. You always overdo the title. You clear your throat. Hi. The dragon eyes you, then looks to the monkey. Does this one have permission? Sort of. The dragon sighs. That's not how permission works. The monkey waves a paw. They're curious and polite and not carrying anything flammable. I literally have a lighter, you mutter. The dragon ignores you. He uncoils slowly, stretching as if waking from a long nap. His body glimmers bronze and green, but not in an aggressive way. More like a very old and expensive quilt someone left near a sunbeam. "You want the story," he says. "The real one?" "I think so," you reply. The dragon nods. "Everyone wants fire, but they don't ask why it was hidden." You blink. "Why was it hidden?" He doesn't answer. Not directly. Instead, he dips a claw into the pond, swirling it once. Ripples shimmer outward. In them, images form. A village long ago, the same one you saw before. But this time there are two fires. One warm, one raging. One shared for soup, the other burning homes. "Fire listens," the dragon says, "but not everyone listens back." You sit beside the pond. The monkey sits on your other side. "The first fire was borrowed," the dragon says, "by a monkey who wanted to help, but when people saw what it could do, cook, warm, create, they also saw what it could destroy." You nod slowly. "So it became myth," he finishes, "not so people would forget, but so they would remember with caution." The monkey tosses a pebble into the pond. "You're getting philosophical again." "It's a pond. Everything sounds philosophical near water." You exhale. "Can I see it?" "The fire?" The dragon tilts his head. "Not the dangerous part," you add quickly, "just the good part." For a moment nothing happens, then he breathes. Just once. From his nostrils a slow, thin curl of flame rises. Not hot, not wild, just soft and steady. Like candlelight on a birthday cake held between friends. You reach out your hand. It doesn't burn. Instead it settles into your palm like a whisper. The monkey claps once. "Nice." You smile, eyes wide. But the dragon leans close. "It stays with you only if you promise something." "What?" "To use it for stories, not wars, not fame, not recipes you'll never finish, just stories." You nod. "Deal." The flame flickers, then sinks gently into your skin. It doesn't hurt. It simply warms you from the inside out. The pond lingers behind you like a quiet memory as you and the monkey step away, back into the soft embrace of the bamboo forest. But there's something different now. Your footsteps are lighter, the air feels warmer, and in your chest there's a faint glow. Not literal, probably, but you hope not. "You've got fire in your pocket," the monkey says with a wink. "Just don't try lighting any torches with it. It's more metaphorical than practical." "Darn," you say, half serious. "I was hoping for at least a spark for tea." The monkey shrugs. "It might steep stories. That counts." You walk for a while in silence. The kind of silence that doesn't beg to be filled. Just breathing. Soft shoes on soft earth. Occasional birdsong high above. Eventually, the path opens up again. A hillside village clings to the slope like moss on a stone. Curved rooftops, paper lanterns strung between eaves, winding terraces with drying herbs and bundles of firewood, the scent of roasted chestnuts wafting from somewhere unseen. You enter slowly, like someone trying not to wake a dream. The villagers don't look up. They move with the rhythm of people who have done this 1,000 times, carrying buckets, folding laundry, sweeping stairs. One old man is carving a peach out of wood, the real thing resting beside him as a model. "Is this the village from the vision?" you ask. "Not exactly," the monkey says. "But it's part of the story, or maybe the story is part of it. Time's a little bendy around dragons." You nod like you understand, which you don't, but that's never stopped you before. A small girl walks past carrying a basket of incense sticks, and she pauses to glance at you, just for a second. Then she smiles, a shy, knowing little smirk, and keeps walking. You glance down. There's a faint orange glow in your palm again. Barely visible, like the last breath of a sunset. And it's warm, not hot, just warm, like you're holding the idea of comfort. The monkey leads you up a narrow staircase carved into the hillside. "There's someone you should meet. She remembers the story better than anyone, has a long memory and a short temper, so don't interrupt." "Got it," you say, only slightly nervous. At the top of the stairs, there's a wide veranda overlooking the village. A scroll painter sits cross-legged on a wooden platform, long sheets of silk spread around her like waves. Her brush dips and dances with fluid precision, inking dragons, peaches, stars, and monkeys in a flowing rhythm. She hums as she works, a tune older than the mountain itself. She glances up as you approach, her eyes narrow, not unkindly. "So you're the one who borrowed the flame," she says, voice like wind through pine. "Did you say thank you?" You blink. "To the dragon?" "To the monkey," she corrects. You glance at him. He's suddenly very interested in a nearby fig. "I'll make sure to," you say. She nods. "Good." You sit down on a woven mat beside her, watching the brushstrokes form a story that feels eerily familiar. That's us, you say, pointing at a figure on the silk. I only paint what's true, she replies. But this hasn't happened yet. She pauses, holding her brush in midair. Hasn't it? You stare at the scene. A monkey handing a peach to a dragon, a traveler holding a little flame in their hand, a village at peace, and overhead stars. Stories bend time, she murmurs. Always have. She paints another stroke, this one gold, glimmering even in shadow. You don't speak, just watch. And then the monkey coughs pointedly. Right, he says. Before we fall asleep here, and I mean that literally, there's one last stop. Is it dangerous, you ask? No, he replies, just emotional. You sigh. Worse. She hands you the finished scroll without a word. You hold it carefully, it's still drying. The flame in your chest hums quietly. You fold the silk gently, tucking it beneath your arm. Thank you, you whisper. She doesn't answer, just returns to her brushwork, humming something soft and forgotten. You descend the hillside slowly, the scroll warm beneath your arm, the village behind you still humming like a lullaby in the background. There's a moment when you think of turning back, just sitting down beside the scroll painter again, maybe asking her to ink a cat into your story. But the monkey is already 5 steps ahead, hopping from stone to stone like he's allergic to lingering. The forest welcomes you back like an old friend. The bamboo sways lazily overhead, brushing against the sky like it's dusting off the clouds. The air here feels older somehow, heavier with memory. The path winds downward now, toward a quiet grove that smells faintly of pine resin and sweet smoke. You said this would be emotional, you remind the monkey, catching up beside him. I also said it wouldn't be dangerous, he says, then adds after a pause, mostly comforting. The grove opens without ceremony, no carved archway, no golden aura, just trees, spaced politely apart, their trunks wrapped with small offerings, bits of ribbon, shells, even half a ceramic teacup balanced precariously on a root. At the center is a large flat stone, smooth, round, with just the right curve to sit on, cry into, or maybe both. Resting atop the stone is an old wooden mask, shaped like a lion with swirling cloud patterns carved across the brows and cheeks, lacquered in fading red and ochre, and adorned with a fringe of worn silk threads that flutter in the breeze. The monkey approaches it with unusual reverence. No skipping, no winking, no side commentary. He just kneels before it, paws resting on his knees, quiet as a shadow. You follow suit, sitting beside him. This was where I first heard the story, he says softly, from the one who wore that mask. You wait, he doesn't elaborate. Were they another monkey, you ask? No, he says, worse, a teacher. You nod solemnly, the universal language of people who have ever sat through a lecture without snacks. He told me the dragon didn't guard the flame out of selfishness, the monkey continues. He was trying to protect everyone else from what it could do, what it would do. Burn things, you ask? No, change things. And suddenly that makes more sense than it should. Because this journey has been quiet, yes. Gentle, yes, but also shifting. Little pieces of your thoughts have rearranged like furniture moved while you slept. The mask stares at you blankly. It has no eyes, but you feel seen. He gave me the flame, the monkey says. Told me to carry it until I found someone who would do something better with it. Not braver. Just steadier. Like a candle instead of a torch, you suggest. The monkey nods. Exactly. You both sit in silence for a while, the kind that stretches but never snaps. A breeze stirs the ribbons on the tree trunks, making them whisper softly to one another. Do you ever miss him, you ask? The monkey shrugs. Sometimes. Mostly when I try to retell the story and realize I left out the important bits. Like the moral? No, like the punchlines. You reach forward and gently lift the mask, turning it over in your hands. The inside is lined with soft cloth, worn and stained from decades, maybe centuries of use. There's something etched on the inside, faint, almost rubbed away. A single character, fire. You don't put it on, that would be too dramatic. Instead, you place it back on the stone carefully, like setting down a thought you're not ready to finish yet. The monkey exhales, then stands. Come on, he says. Time to head for the edge. The edge of what? He smirks. Of everything. Oh, that's casual. Bring snacks, he says. It's a long walk. You stand too, brushing pine needles off your sleeves, and take one last look at the grove. It doesn't wave goodbye, but something in it feels like farewell. The monkey doesn't wait for you to catch up. He simply begins walking, tail swaying like a metronome of mischief as he winds deeper into the woods. You follow, of course, because at this point, if a magical creature offers to lead you toward the edge of everything, you kind of have to see how that plays out. The trees begin to thin, not in a dramatic cinematic clearing kind of way, but in the slow, shrugging retreat of a forest that knows when to bow out. The ground turns rocky, dotted with patches of stubborn moss and clusters of dry grass. You pass a crooked wooden post planted in the dirt, its sign long since snapped off. The monkey points at it and says, "That used to say something incredibly important." Like what? No one remembers, but everyone who passed it walked a little slower. That checks out. Eventually, the path rises toward a bluff. You can feel it before you see it, air sharpens, breeze cools that, and the trees fall respectfully behind you like guests who know they're not invited any further. And then you arrive. The view is ridiculous in the best way. Endless misty mountains unfolding like origami in the distance, their blue-green layers stacked lazily into the horizon. Below, a river winds like silver thread through the valley, catching glints of sunlight in sleepy flashes. Above, clouds drift like slow-moving scrolls across a sky painted in quiet pastels. You take a breath, another one, the kind that fills your whole body like your lungs are trying to remember how to stretch again. The monkey gestures with a sweeping arm. "Behold," he says dramatically, "the edge of everything." "It's very scenic," you reply. He shrugs. "A little anticlimactic maybe, but hey, some endings whisper." You sit down on a smooth rock, letting your feet dangle over the edge. It's not a cliff, really, just a dramatic slope that would absolutely ruin your week if you slipped. But from here, the world feels very far away and very, very small. He sits next to you, rummaging in his pouch and pulling out a half-crushed rice cake. "Snack? Sure." You crunch quietly together for a bit. "I've brought a lot of people here," the monkey says between bites. Some laughed, some cried, one guy just sneezed really loudly and walked off. You nod. The scene demands something simple in return. "Did you ever meet the dragon again?" you ask. He pauses. "No, but I did meet people who claimed they had. Monks, merchants, even a guy who sold roasted chestnuts with extremely strong opinions. And they all described him differently, sometimes kind, sometimes terrifying, sometimes tired. That last one sits a little too comfortably in your chest. You look out at the view, which is still quietly being perfect. Historians, the monkey adds, still argue about whether the dragon was ever real, or if he was just a story that got big. That tracks. People do love an overachieving metaphor, he grins. "Thing is," he says, "I don't care if he was real. I care that people remember he might have been." On the far side of the bluff, barely visible, a cluster of stacked stones rests in a perfect spiral. Each one is etched with tiny symbols, waves, clouds, a single flame. A sort of ancient message board, left to be read by wind and time. The monkey gestures toward it. "That's where I leave my messages, in case he ever circles back." You walk over and kneel beside it, add a pebble to the top, smooth and round. You don't etch anything into it, there's no need. You were here, that's enough. The wind kicks up for just a moment, lifting your hair and tugging at the monkey's tail. He doesn't flinch. You both sit again. He pulls out a small wooden flute and starts to play. Not a song, exactly, just a wandering line of notes, like someone humming to themselves without really trying. It's not perfect. Some notes squeak. One is definitely off-key, but it fits. It fits the edge. It fits this moment. You close your eyes, not to sleep, not yet, just to listen better. And in the stillness, for one tiny heartbeat, you almost think you hear something deeper under the flute, something older, something draconic. Then it's gone. When you finally open your eyes again, the sun has sunk a little lower behind the mountains. The shadows stretch longer now, curling over the rocks like sleepy cats. The monkey has tucked his flute back into his pouch and is chewing the last crumbs from his rice cake, like someone trying to make a single snack last an entire existential moment. You rise and brush off your hands. "So," you say, glancing out at the horizon. "Now what?" The monkey stretches, cracking his knuckles with an unnecessary amount of ceremony. "Now," he says, "we go to the place where fire dreams." You blink. That sounds extremely unsafe. "Oh, it is," he grins, "but also very scenic." Back down the bluff you go, retracing your steps until the rocky path gives way to soft moss and shy ferns again. But then the monkey takes a sharp left, slipping between two weathered tree trunks and disappearing into what looks like, objectively, a wall of leaves. You push through and emerge into what can only be described as a valley caught between naps. The place is wrapped in a warm golden mist, the kind that makes everything glow like it's been lightly toasted. The ground is soft and springy beneath your feet, scattered with blossoms in shades that don't have names in English. Ancient boulders lounge nearby, drowsy under coats of velvet moss. And there in the center, quietly pulsing with light, sits a ring of charred stones, unassuming except for the occasional curl of smoke rising from its core. "This is it?" you ask. "The fire?" The monkey nods. "What's left of it, anyway?" You approach the stones, and sure enough, a faint warmth presses against your shins. Inside the circle, embers glow like sleepy eyes. "You see," the monkey begins, sitting cross-legged on a particularly plush-looking tuft of moss, "fire has a life cycle. Everyone talks about it like it's always hungry, but truth is, fire gets tired too." You nod solemnly because somehow that makes perfect sense. "This fire," he continues, "was once a gift, stolen, shared, hidden, and hoarded. Legends say a monkey, perhaps a distant cousin of mine, stole it from a dragon and brought it down here, hid it in this very valley so it could sleep when the world wasn't ready. That's a lot of responsibility for a monkey." He winks. "We're surprisingly good at managing cosmic relics." You peer into the pit again. One ember flares slightly, and you could swear you hear it sigh. "Historians," the monkey murmurs, "still debate whether the fire was literal or symbolic. Some think it was actual flame. Others say it was knowledge, or spirit, or, depending on the translation, soup." You snort. The monkey doesn't miss a beat. "Soup is sacred, you know, especially in winter." You sit down across from him, letting the warmth of the fire seep up through your legs. It's not dramatic, it's not magic with fireworks and chants, it's just cozy. "You can borrow it," the monkey says suddenly. You look up. "The fire?" He nods. "Just for a little while, to keep with you. It's what the original thief did, passed it along." "But won't someone need it here?" The monkey tilts his head thoughtfully. "That's the thing. Fire wants to be used, not locked up in fancy temples or hidden under gold-plated rocks. It wants to dance in tea kettles and glow inside lanterns and grumble quietly in campfires. You consider this." The ember nearest to you glows a little brighter. "So," you ask, "how does one borrow fire without, getting burned?" The monkey smiles and reaches into his pouch, pulling out a small, soot-darkened wooden charm shaped like a flame. It's tied to a bit of red string and smells faintly of pine and smoke and something older than memory. "Take this," he says. It holds just enough spark to remind you. You take it gently. The charm feels warm against your palm like it's been sitting in sunlight for hours. No flare, no flash, just warmth. Real and quiet. You tie it around your wrist. Suddenly you feel, not powerful exactly, but steady, like you've added something small and strong to your inner toolkit. "Thank you," you say. "Don't thank me," the monkey shrugs. "Thank the dragon, and the first monkey, and soup, probably." You both chuckle. The fire flutters one last time, then settles back into its nap. The golden mist begins to thin, as if sensing it's no longer the main act. Time to move again. But not just yet. You rest there a moment longer, hand on your wrist, feeling the quiet hum of ancient flame. It doesn't ask for attention. It just is. The path out of the valley feels different now. Lighter, somehow. The monkey hums a tune that sounds suspiciously like a lullaby for spoons. Your feet find their rhythm in the moss and stone, and the charm at your wrist gives a soft tap with each step, as if checking in. "Still here? Still warm? Good." As you walk, the trees thin out and the sky opens wider. The mist dissolves behind you, and a gentle breeze takes its place, curling around your ears like a sleepy dragon sighing through tall grass. You glance back one more time. The valley looks perfectly ordinary from here. Just a dip in the land with rocks and trees and probably a few judgmental squirrels. No sign of ancient flame or sleepy embers or any of the history you now carry in your palm. Funny how the quiet places are the ones with the loudest memories. "Where to next?" you ask. The monkey checks an imaginary watch and mutters, "Well, technically we're ahead of schedule. Most seekers don't get the fire until after 3 musical challenges and an accidental river baptism." I'm honored. You should be. You're one of the rare few who didn't ask where the treasure was. You consider that. I just assumed it wasn't gold. Exactly, he says, pointing at you with a vine twig. Smart traveler. The trail curves into a wide meadow, sprinkled with tiny blue flowers that close when you try to look directly at them. A low stone wall runs along one side, covered in climbing ivy and what appears to be a moss-based gossip network. Here the monkey pauses beside a crooked signpost carved with swirling symbols. This, he says, is the crossroad of decisions you won't remember. That sounds worrying. Oh, don't worry, he replies cheerfully. You won't remember. You follow him past the sign and into a pocket of the world that feels like it's been folded twice, then gently ironed flat. The air smells like rain that hasn't fallen yet. You hear wind chimes, but there's no wind. And standing in the center of the field is a man in a peach-colored robe, balancing a teacup on his head. He's still as a statue, eyes closed, arms outstretched. The robe moves slightly as if fluttering in a breeze that exists only for him. Birds land and hop around his feet, with all the casual confidence of creatures used to enlightenment. The monkey gives a respectful bow. Master of balanced regrets, he whispers. You try not to snort. I thought we left riddles back at the bridge. We did. This one's more metaphorical. The man slowly lowers the teacup from his head without spilling a drop and gestures for you to sit. You sit. The monkey sits. The man says nothing. You sit some more. Eventually, the silence gets so deep it starts echoing inside your own chest. The monkey finally speaks. They say this man once ate a whole library. You blink. What? You look up, and the meadow has changed. It's dusk now. The flowers are closed. The wind has returned. The signpost is gone. And the master of balanced regrets is walking away, peach robe flickering like a candle behind fogged glass. You exhale without realizing you'd been holding your breath. What did that mean? You ask. The monkey shrugs. Probably that you already know. Or that you need tea, one of those. As you rise, the grass feels warmer beneath your feet, firmer, like the earth is gently saying, yes, this is the right direction. The monkey brushes his hands together and announces, only 2 more places to go. 2? Yes, the memory market and the place you forgot. Do I want to go there? He grins. You already have. And with that he bounds ahead, leaving you to follow into twilight with a charm on your wrist, a story behind your eyes, and the lingering sense that something important just happened, even if you can't quite explain it. Books, scrolls, inkstones, everything wanted to absorb all knowledge directly. What happened? Had a terrible stomachache, but also now knows 6 languages and can name every type of cloud. You glance at the man. He smiles slightly and offers you the teacup. It's empty, of course. You pretend to sip. So what does he do? You whisper. Listens, says the monkey. He listens to what people don't say, then helps them remember what they forgot they needed. And how does he do that? The monkey points at your wrist. He noticed your fire. He'll remind you how to use it. You look down. The charm glows just a little, not bright, just present. The man places his hand over yours very lightly. Then he taps the charm. 1 tap, then another, then nothing. You look up, and the meadow has changed. It's dusk now. The flowers are closed. The wind has returned. The signpost is gone. And the master of balanced regrets is walking away, peach robe flickering like a candle behind fogged glass. You exhale without realizing you'd been holding your breath. What did that mean, you ask? The monkey shrugs. Probably that you already know, or that you need tea. One of those. As you rise, the grass feels warmer beneath your feet, firmer, like the earth is gently saying, yes, this is the right direction. The monkey brushes his hands together and announces, only 2 more places to go. 2? Yes, the memory market and the place you forgot. Do I want to go there? He grins. You already have. And with that, he bounds ahead, leaving you to follow into twilight with a charm on your wrist, a story behind your eyes, and the lingering sense that something important just happened, even if you can't quite explain it. The memory market doesn't appear the way you expect markets to appear. No colorful stalls shouting prices, no clamor of haggling, no smell of roasting chestnuts or bubbling stew. Instead, it arrives slowly, like a dream remembered halfway through a yawn. One moment, you're walking through the meadow. The next, you're stepping onto smooth cobblestones, damp with dew and lined with objects that shimmer ever so slightly, not with light, but with familiarity. "This," says the monkey, "hopping beside you is where people come to trade things they forgot they remembered." Sounds confusing? It is, he replies cheerfully, but very relaxing. You pass a row of shelves holding objects arranged by feeling. A spoonful of your grandmother's soup, the soft click of a door locking behind you, a sock missing its twin but still warm from the dryer. That one phrase from a stranger that stayed in your bones. None of it's labeled. But somehow, you know. There's a table displaying people's laughter, each one shaped like a tiny bell that rings differently depending on the emotion. You lean in, hear a soft giggle that makes your eyes water without warning. Further down the path, a woman made entirely of folded paper sells wind patterns in small glass bottles. When she smiles, her face crinkles like a letter someone kept folded for years. "Do people actually buy these?" you whisper. "Oh no," the monkey says. "They don't buy, they trade." You nod, as if that makes it any clearer. What do they trade? Memories they don't need anymore, or dreams they've outgrown. Some offer old names. Others that one song they used to love but now makes them sad. You pass an old man offering a marble carved with a child's voice. Across from him, a teenager offers a half-finished apology. You're not sure which one is more valuable. You pause by a stall covered in keys. Each one different, one glows faintly. One has a broken tooth, one hums softly like a lullaby sung through a cracked door. A sign reads, "Unlock only what you're ready for." The monkey picks up a key shaped like a question mark and pockets it. "Emergency curiosity," he explains. You laugh, or maybe sigh. It's hard to tell here. You feel something tugging at you, not a hand, not a voice, just a sense. You turn down a narrow alley of tents woven from stories. Inside one you see a familiar shape. A version of you. Younger, maybe 5 or 6. Sitting cross-legged, building something out of sticks and string in absolute belief. They glance up and smile. You don't say anything, neither do they. For a long time you just sit together, watching a paper bird hover above their head, held aloft by nothing but memory. Eventually the monkey peeks in and whispers, "Ready?" You nod. The child you waves. And just like that, the moment folds itself away like a bedtime book returned to a shelf. Back outside, the market is fading. Not vanishing, just becoming less. Like it never needed to stay longer than you did. You walk through a curtain of mist and find yourself on a path lined with candlelight and shadows that don't quite match your own movements. "Last stop," says the monkey. "The place I forgot?" He nods. It sounds ominous. Only if you expect too much. The path winds through memory-thick trees and sighing stone. At the center is a clearing with nothing inside it, which is strange because it feels familiar. You step into the space and suddenly remember a time you swore you'd never forget, a promise whispered under a blanket fort, a laugh that felt like the sun had blinked just for you. It hits like mist, soft, cold, everywhere. The place you forgot isn't a where, it's a when. And standing in it now, you don't need to hold it. You just need to know it held you. The monkey watches quietly as the clearing pulses faint gold, then fades. You step out lighter, not emptier, just less heavy. "Now what?" you ask. He grins, his tail curling like a question. "Now we give the fire back." You follow the monkey down a quiet slope toward a low, bowl-shaped valley shrouded in velvet mist. The grass here grows in tufts, soft as wool, and your footsteps no longer crunch or echo. They whisper, like they're trying not to wake the world. "This," the monkey says, "is where the dragon naps." You blink. "I thought dragons didn't nap." "They do," he says, "just epically." At the center of the valley, tucked between the roots of a mountain-sized willow tree, lies a shape too vast to comprehend at once. Part mountain, part thundercloud, part memory of warmth. The dragon sleeps with its snout curled beneath its wing, its scales shifting subtly in the dim light, some the color of sunrise tea, others like burnt copper or starlight caught in old smoke. It snores, softly but with meaning. The monkey gestures for you to sit. "We'll wait." "For what?" "For the fire to settle." You sit. The ground is warm, not like fire warm, like belly of an old cat warm. The monkey takes out the ember, the one borrowed from the dragon's hearth, and holds it carefully in his palms. It pulses like a tiny sun with a secret. "How long do we have?" He shrugs. "Long enough, maybe. It's not about time, it's about when." You squint at him. He just smiles. While you wait, the dragon dreams. You can see the flickers behind its eyelids, visions of cloud temples, cinnamon winds, and once, very briefly, a pastry made entirely of laughter. The fire in the monkey's hand begins to dim. "It's ready," he says. You nod, but you don't move. Instead you ask, "What happens when we give it back?" The monkey considers this seriously. Maybe it forgives you. For what? For needing it. He rises and walks slowly to the dragon's side. The creature's breath rolls out in long, leafy gusts. It smells like roasted chestnuts and forgotten lullabies. The monkey cups the ember, leans forward, and blows gently. The fire leaps from his hand, floats for a beat in the air like a dandelion puff, then sinks between two scales on the dragon's side. Nothing happens. Then everything does. The dragon exhales once, and all the candles in your memory flicker brighter. Not because they're real, but because they were always yours. You feel warmth spread across your chest, your limbs, your breath. Not heat. Just calm. The kind that says, "You did enough today. You can rest now." The dragon shifts, not awake, but aware. You and the monkey begin walking back, up the hill, through the mist, into the cooling hush of early evening. The stars are already stitching themselves into the sky. You ask, "Was it real?" The monkey grins. "Does it matter?" You don't answer. You just walk. The fire is behind you now. Not gone. Not lost, just resting. Like you're about to. Like maybe you should have long ago. You look at the monkey, now twirling a pine cone like it's a trophy. "What now? Now you forget again," he says. "And then maybe, one day, you'll remember." You reach the edge of a glade lined with trees whispering lullabies and leaves. The monkey waves, you wave back, then step softly into sleep. Now the story has quieted. The monkey is gone. The dragon is dreaming. And you're floating gently at the edge of thought, as if sleep itself were a warm mist curling around your shoulders. Breathe in like you're inhaling the softest memory. Exhale, like letting go of something heavy you didn't realize you were carrying. Let your fingers loosen. Let your shoulders melt into whatever is beneath you. The story won't follow. It's content to rest too. Let the echoes of firelight and laughter dim into a soft glow behind your eyelids. The roads are folded. The market is closed. Even the stars are starting to blink slower now. Let the stillness settle in the room like dust in golden light. You don't have to be anywhere but here. No lessons to remember, no treasures to keep, just breath, warmth, and the shape of quiet. Let sleep take its time, it knows the way.